Why do you people torment me?
On the final episode of the Amazing Digital... God is dead. Oops! On the finale of the Amazing Digital... Anyway,
Jax is gone. Not dead, not locked away. Gone in the worst way possible. The character who spent every single episode being the loudest, most chaotic, most unbothered presence in the entire digital circus just broke. Completely. And the scary part, it didn't come out of nowhere. Every single sign was there. We just didn't want to believe it was actually going to happen. Episode 9 did something that nobody was fully prepared for, and even after watching it, a lot of people still don't understand the full picture of what went down with Jax, because the most important pieces aren't even inside the episode itself. Glitch dropped bonus content that most people either missed or didn't connect to the bigger story, and once you see it all together, it hits completely different. This isn't just about Jax going abstract, this is about why it happened, how it happened, and what the bonus scenes are actually telling us that the episode didn't say out loud. So let's go back to episode 7 for a second, because that episode was basically a manual for exactly what we just watched happen to Jax in episode 9. Episode 7 laid out the entire process of how abstraction works, not in a textbook way, but through what Jax himself experienced. And at the time, it felt like a close call. It felt like the show was showing us how dangerous this world really is, and then pulling back at the last second to let Jax survive. But looking at it now, episode 7 wasn't a close call. It was a preview. It was the show telling you exactly what was coming and daring you to connect the dots before it was too late. The first thing episode 7 showed us was the guilt-induced hallucinations. Jax started seeing Ribbit's arms, and the reason for that is brutal when you think about it. He accidentally caused her abstraction. He didn't mean for it to happen, but it happened because of him, and his mind couldn't let it go. That guilt started leaking into his perception of reality. He was seeing things that weren't there, things tied directly to the worst thing he'd ever done. That's not just a creepy visual moment, that's the first stage. That's the mind starting to crack under the weight of something it can't process. Then came the strange dream state. After the hallucinations, Jax slipped into something between sleep and breakdown, this weird destabilized mental space where nothing felt grounded. And the key thing the show pointed out is that this phase eventually relaxes. The mind finds a way to settle, to quiet down, to pull itself back from the edge. That's what happened in episode 7. The storm started, the dream came, and then it calmed. And because it calmed, Jax came back. He was still Jax. Still annoying, still deflecting everything with sarcasm, still refusing to let anyone see that anything had gotten to him. But the process had started. The cracks were already there. They were just sealed over. The third stage is where it becomes abstraction. And the only reason Jax didn't cross that line in episode 7 was the bell. The sound of the bell pulled him back. Something external broke through the spiral and gave his mind something real to hold on to. He got lucky. Or maybe it wasn't luck, maybe the people around him were still close enough to reach him. Either way, that interruption saved him. And that detail matters enormously when you look at what happened in episode 9. Because in episode 9, there was no bell. There was nothing to pull him back. No interruption, no external anchor, no one close enough in that exact moment to break through. He went through all 3 stages again. The hallucinations, the dream state, the point of no return, and this time, nothing stopped it. Now here's where it gets heavier, because episode 9 doesn't actually show you the moment it happens. Jax's abstraction occurs off screen. You don't see the breakdown in real time. You don't watch him lose it. One moment he's there, and then the next time we're dealing with the situation, it's already done. And a lot of people found that frustrating, like the show skipped the most important scene. But think about it from a storytelling perspective, not showing it was a choice. Jax spent the entire series refusing to be seen as vulnerable. He deflected every emotional moment. He made jokes at the worst times. He kept everyone at arm's length. So the show gave him the same treatment in his worst moment. It happened where no one could see. It happened in private, in the dark, alone. And that detail is more devastating than any dramatic on-screen breakdown could have been. But Glitch didn't leave it completely invisible. they release bonus content outside of episode 9 that gives you a window into that moment. A short video, a scene with Jax, and in it he reaches up and touches one of his eyes. That's it. That's the whole thing. But that one gesture carries everything. Because if you know the abstraction process from episode 7, you know what that moment is. That's the transformation beginning. That's the exact point where the mind stops fighting and the body starts changing. He's touching his eye because something is already wrong. Something he can feel happening from the inside. And the fact that this scene exists outside the main episode, that Glitch chose to release it separately as bonus content, tells you that they knew exactly how much weight it carried. They didn't put it in the episode because the episode didn't need it, but they couldn't just not show it either, so they gave it to the people who were paying attention. And then there's the merchandise, because Glitch didn't just drop bonus video content, they also launched new merchandise alongside episode 9. And one of the items is a Jax figurine in abstract form. Now, normally merchandise is just merchandise, a fun collectible, something for fans to put on a shelf, but this figurine is specific in a way that tells you more than you'd expect. It doesn't show Jax fully abstract, it shows him half normal, half abstract, the in-between state, the process of transformation frozen in physical form, which means Glitch didn't just want to sell a product, they wanted to document exactly what this transition looks like. They wanted people to hold it in their hands and understand that this wasn't a sudden switch. This was a slow collapse, a gradual losing of himself. And that detail reframes everything because it means the Jax we see in the aftermath of episode 9 isn't completely gone yet at some point during the transformation. There was a version of him that was still half there, still partially himself. And nobody reached him in time. That brings us to Pomni, because she tried. She actually tried to save him. And that part of the story is one of the most painful pieces of everything that happened in episode 9. Pomni entered his mind. She went inside into whatever was left of his mental space during or after the transformation, trying to find him and pull him back the same way someone once tried to reach an abstract character before and failed. And she failed too. She couldn't save him. Whatever she found inside Jax's mind at that point, it wasn't enough. Either she was too late, or what was left of him was too far gone, or the damage was just too deep for anyone to undo from the outside. But the fact that she tried matters, because Jax spent the entire series pushing people away. He was sarcastic and cold and difficult on purpose. He made sure nobody got close enough to actually care about him. And yet when it counted, Pomni cared anyway. She went in after him anyway, and it still wasn't enough. That's the tragedy underneath the tragedy. Think about what Jax was carrying going into episode 9. The guilt over Ribbit was never resolved. He never processed it, never talked about it, never dealt with it in any real way. He just buried it and kept moving the way he always did. And on top of that, the events leading into the final episode weren't exactly easy on anyone. But for someone who was already cracked from episode 7, already someone who had already brushed up against abstraction once and barely come back, the weight was just too much. He didn't have the tools to handle it. He didn't have anyone he trusted enough to lean on. He had built his entire personality around not needing anyone, around being the one who didn't care, around deflecting everything with a joke or a cruel comment. And that armor, the very thing that made him feel safe, was exactly what left him completely alone when things got bad enough to break him. The decision the rest of the cast made at the end is what makes the ending land so differently from what you might expect. Because the obvious move, the thing the digital circus world has always done with abstract characters, is the cellar. That's where they go. That's the rule. You go abstract, you get locked away, out of sight, out of the group, separated from everyone who knew you. But they didn't do that with Jax. Instead of locking him in the cellar, they brought him inside a marquee. They kept him close. They refused to abandon him the way the system was designed to. And that one decision says everything about how far these characters have come and how much Jax meant to them, even when he made it incredibly hard to show that. It's a strange kind of ending for a character like Jax. Not a death, not a rescue, not a clean resolution in either direction. Just This is what's left, and we're not leaving him behind. The character who tried the hardest to make sure nobody ever got attached to him ends up being the one they refuse to walk away from. And all the bonus content, the short clip, the merchandise, the hints scattered across episode 7, it all feeds into the same picture. This wasn't random, this wasn't sudden, this was a long time coming, and the show was telling you the whole time if you were watching closely enough. Jax didn't just go abstract in episode 9, he went abstract the moment he never dealt with what happened to Ribbit. Episode 9 was just when the bill finally came due.